Welcome, dear Scorpio. I'm Selena Hart, and I want to thank you for being here with me today. If you found your way to this message, know that it's not by chance. You've been moving through something quietly. And on May 11, that quiet is beginning to shift. Not into chaos, but into clarity. The energy around you right now is not loud, but it is powerful. You may not be able to put it into words, but you feel it, a subtle pulling, a deep emotional current rising beneath your daily life. You've been holding a lot, perhaps more than you've let anyone see. And now Spirit is asking you to pause, not to figure it all out, just to feel what's been waiting underneath. On May 11, the moon in Virgo forms a healing trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, your ruling planet. This is not a dramatic shift, but it is a defining one. Something is being reorganized within you, not because you forced it, but because you're ready to stop carrying weight that was never fully yours, ready to let go of what no longer supports who you're becoming, ready to soften without collapse. There are three emotional patterns that may rise to the surface during this time. These are not signs that something's wrong. They are signs that something real is trying to be seen. First, you may begin to feel a heaviness that you can't quite explain. It doesn't announce itself with a reason. It just shows up like a fog settling quietly into your chest. Maybe it's a deep tiredness, the kind that sleep doesn't fix. Or maybe it's a quiet ache, a sadness that doesn't belong to anything recent, yet still feels close. Like it's been waiting just under the surface for a long time. This kind of emotional weight doesn't always come with answers. It may not even feel dramatic, but it's real. It's the kind of sadness that lingers in the background of otherwise ordinary days. You might find yourself moving more slowly, becoming more sensitive to noise or expectation. You might catch yourself wanting to cry without knowing why, or feeling numb when you think you should feel something. All of this is valid. What Spirit is asking of you now isn't to solve this feeling. It's not to analyze it or make sense of it too quickly. It's simply to stop running from it, to stop pretending it isn't there, to sit quietly beside it and ask it what it needs. You don't need to fix the ache. You need to witness it. That's where the release begins. Not in doing, but in noticing, not in forcing clarity, but in allowing space for what's still unclear. And this matters because when you avoid this sadness, when you push it down or distract yourself from it, it doesn't disappear. It just buries itself deeper. It starts showing up in your relationships, in your sleep, in the way you speak to yourself. But when you slow down enough to actually feel it, fully, gently, without judgment, something opens. The grief loosens its grip. The energy trapped inside your body begins to move again. And that's where the healing starts. Not in dramatic transformation, but in these small, quiet moments of self-honesty. The ones where you stop pretending you're fine and start treating your pain like something sacred, not something shameful. Because that ache you're feeling, it's not a sign of failure. It's a signal. Something old is ready to lead, and something new is waiting to take its place. But it can't enter until you make room for it. And that begins by sitting with what's already there. In the next breath, in the next silence, the next moment you choose to stay present instead of escaping, that's where the shift begins. That's where the weight starts to lift quietly, gently. Second, you may notice yourself retreating, not in anger, not in rejection, but in quiet self-protection. It might begin suddenly, unanswered messages, a hesitation to share, a feeling that your energy is better kept to yourself. And for you, Scorpio, this instinct is familiar. You've learned how to pull inward when the world feels too loud, too demanding, or too unpredictable. It's not weakness, it's how you survive. But Spirit is asking you to notice when this reflex to withdraw becomes automatic, when you start closing the door before anyone's even knocked. Because not every moment of connection is a threat. Not every vulnerability will be met with betrayal. And not every silence is strength. Sometimes it's a shield that's been up for too long. You've been through enough to know what it feels like when trust is broken. And because of that, you become careful, maybe even overly so. You scan for motives, you read between the lines, you hold your truth like something that might be used against you. But Scorpio, not every person is coming to take from you. Some people are here to meet you, to see you, to remind you that you don't have to carry everything alone. There are safe spaces. They may be rare, but they exist. Spirit's reminding you that healing isn't only found in solitude. Sometimes it happens in the soft presence of another. Someone who listens without fixing, someone who stays without demanding. You don't have to pour everything out at once. You don't even have to speak. But consider this. What if you let someone in? Just a little. What if the silence didn't mean isolation, but invitation? You get to choose who has access to your heart. That discernment is your gift. But let it be a doorway, not a wall. Not every silence is sacred. Some are habits. And some are wounds still masquerading as strength. And this matters because the next chapter of your growth, the one this season is opening, won't be walked alone. Whether it's a deep friendship, a soul-aligned partnership, or a community that reflects your truth, your next evolution involves connection. And connection can't happen if you're always disappearing before you're seen. So as you notice the urge to pull back, ask yourself gently, am I protecting myself or hiding from something deeper? Am I choosing peace or avoiding the risk of being known? And what if, just this once, you let someone see the real you and stayed long enough to find out what happens next? And third, you may feel mistrust rising, quiet, persistent, and difficult to name. It might not overwhelm you, but it lingers like a shadow just behind your thoughts. Doubts begin to surface. You question someone's words, even if they haven't given you a reason. You wonder if an opportunity is too good to be true. You second guess your own progress, wondering if maybe you've missed something or fallen behind without noticing. This mistrust isn't always loud, but it can be constant. A low hum that disrupts your ability to settle, to soften, to believe. But Scorpio, this is a familiar energy. Trust is not something you offer easily, not because you don't want to, but because you've learned the cost of offering it to the wrong people. You've been burned. You've been left holding the pieces. And so you've learned to wait, to watch, to withhold just enough of yourself so that if things fall apart again, it won't undo you entirely. But Spirit is asking you to pause and notice something. This flicker of mistrust. What is it really pointing to? Is it protecting you? Or is it asking for something deeper? Because mistrust is rarely random. It's a messenger. It shows up when something in you is seeking clarity. Not necessarily certainty, but honesty. Maybe it's asking you to speak up, to ask the question you've been avoiding. Maybe it's asking you to slow down, not because something is wrong, but because you need more time to feel safe. Or maybe it's reminding you to hold firmer boundaries, not as punishment, but as protection of your peace. There is wisdom in your doubt, but there is also a danger in letting it define your story. If you don't question where the mistrust is rooted, it can become a barrier, not just against others, but against your own joy. You start anticipating disappointment before it arrives. You start hesitating in moments that are meant to be lived. You begin to expect betrayal in places where love is actually trying to find you. This is why Spirit is calling you to be curious, not reactive. Don't shame yourself for feeling hesitant, but don't let that hesitation steal something real from you either. Let the mistrust speak. Let it tell you what's missing, and then respond, not from fear, but from grounded awareness. Because what's unfolding now, what's approaching, may require more openness than you've allowed in a long time. And while discernment will always be your ally, suspicion doesn't have to lead the way. You're allowed to move slowly. You're allowed to ask for more time. You're allowed to need reassurance. But don't close the door on possibility just because the past taught you to prepare for the worst. What if this time is different? What if you've grown enough to recognize what's true and brave enough to receive it? That's the choice in front of you now. Not whether or not to trust blindly, but whether you're willing to stay open long enough to see what's actually here. This is not a time to push forward, to force clarity, or to demand immediate answers. This is a time to pause. Not because you're stuck, but because something meaningful is unfolding within you. And if you move too quickly, you'll miss it. Right now, Spirit is asking you to stop running toward the next solution and instead feel everything you've been carrying. Not to fix it, not to make sense of it, just to feel it. Fully, honestly, without interruption. The truth is, some of the answers you've been searching for won't come through logic or planning. They'll rise naturally, in silence, in stillness, in the quiet space where your intuition has room to breathe. The deeper you allow yourself to feel, the more clearly you'll begin to hear what's next, not from panic, not from pressure, but from a deeper place of knowing. And that knowing lives inside you. It always has. You are being called back to your emotional center, to the part of you that knows how to trust without explanation, how to release what's no longer needed, and how to stand in your own truth even when no one else fully understands it. You were never meant to be everything for everyone. You weren't born to be universally accepted. You were born to know yourself completely, to understand the rhythm of your own heart, the boundaries of your spirit, the quiet language of your soul. And from that place, grounded, intuitive, unshaken, you are meant to love without losing yourself, to lead with quiet depth rather than noise, and to protect your peace, not with walls, but with wisdom. You don't need to chase what's meant for you. You only need to remain anchored enough to recognize it when it arrives. So for now, don't rush the process. Don't climb out of the moment before you've listened to what it's here to teach you. You are not falling behind. You are falling inward, back into the truth of who you are. And from that truth, everything else will unfold. You are not broken. Even if some days feel heavy and your heart carries more than it can name, that weight is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're healing in places most people will never even touch. You are not behind. Even if others seem further along, moving faster or appearing more certain, know this: your pace is your own. The work you are doing, the quiet emotional labor, the inner reconciliation, the returning to yourself again and again is not lost time. It's sacred ground. You are not meant to be a polished version of yourself at every step. You are meant to become gradually, imperfectly, beautifully. Becoming is not a straight line. It loops, it pauses, it circles back. But every step is part of the unfolding. Every setback, every unraveling, every raw moment of truth is shaping you into someone more real and more ready. So if this season has brought you closer to your fears, to your memories, to your unspoken pain, know that it has also brought you closer to your power. Not the kind of power that demands attention or control, but the kind that moves quietly from within. A power that lives in your ability to stay open when it would be easier to shut down. A power that whispers, I'm still here, even in your most uncertain moment. This path you're walking, this inward, soul deep, often invisible path is not one many will understand. But that's okay. You don't need to be understood to be whole. You only need to be true to yourself, to your process, to what you know deep in your bones is real. So until next time, my beloved Scorpio, may your path be clear even if it winds. May your truth be honored even if it's still forming. And may your power, the quiet, grounded soul one kind, be rooted not in fear, but in softness. Softness is not weakness. It is the strength to remain open when the world tells you to harden. And that, Scorpio, is the kind of power no one can take from you. And so we arrive at the close of today's journey. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you, not just for watching, but for choosing to stay present with your own heart, even when it would be easier to look away. The energy of May 11 is not here to test you. It's here to meet you, to remind you that you don't have to be finished to be worthy. You don't have to be certain to be guided. You only need to be honest with yourself, with your emotions, with the rhythm of your becoming. What you're feeling right now may not always make sense to others. That's okay. You're not here to be decoded. You're here to live deeply, to trust your timing, to soften into your own transformation, even when no one else can see it yet. And I hope this space, this message has reminded you that you're not alone in that process. If this message has resonated with your soul, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know what you're releasing, what you're reclaiming, or simply how your heart is feeling today. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing so you can return to this sacred space whenever you need to. Until we met again, dear Scorpio, may your emotions guide you without overwhelming you. May your softness remain intact even as you grow stronger. And may every step you take bring you closer to the truth of who you are becoming. With care, I'm Selena Hart, and I'll see you in the next reading.